playing to catch hit a little bit, so I watched the film. And, clearly, Cam McGriff is not the best recruiter on my team, so we'll have to talk about his future also. No, I'm excited to be here. Obviously, getting started tomorrow with our first practice. Probably like all the other 350 Division I coaches, feel really good about what we've done over the summer and this fall leading up to our first practice. Really had a great time getting the freshmen acclimated. One of the things that I've been most impressed with is the balance of the upperclassmen trying to teach and help the young guys learn, but also the competitiveness that we've had in those situations where they've had to compete against each other or help each other through it. So it gives me a lot of hope that we got a chance to take a step forward with our program this year.
Coach, you just don't have a lot of new players coming. You got 2 new assistant coaches. What do you think they bring to the table?
They're both young guys. They've got a lot of energy. Both guys who are very, very experienced in terms of knowing what good players look like. Coach Pastrana and I worked together for 3 years at Stephen F. And he knows me as well as anybody and what the expectations are, how we work. So that's been a pretty easy transition. Cannon, on the other hand, I didn't know in terms of having a working relationship with, but I had observed him in a coaching capacity with his teams before. I know he's really, really smart. He's a guy who understands the game. Been around some tremendous coaches himself, played for Coach Brown and Coach Daugherty at SMU, worked for Mike Dunleavy at Tulane. So, I think that experience that he's had as a player and then this brief time in college basketball will be a great benefit to our program also.
How have you seen your freshmen newcomers progress since they got here on campus?
Yeah, I mean, you can visibly see the differences in their bodies. I think Avery's up somewhere close to 20 pounds. The Bulls have added some good muscle. Chris Harris is down 15 to 20 pounds in that range. But not just those guys, even our returners. Cam repped out 23 reps on 185 pounds in the weight room the other day. So pretty impressive, even though he can't recruit, he's really good in the weight room. And all those guys just made it a point. Cam and Thomas both stayed here through the entire summer. Didn't go home in that May break. They were kind of molding some injuries from the wear and tear last year. So I could just see their commitment level and their focus on trying to make this season a great one is something that I'm really, really excited about.
All of the guys talked about, I think almost every one of them I talked to used the word family, but at the same time said as much as we enjoy being around each other, eating lunch together every day, everything's a competition, from sprints to video games to shooting drills. Everything they do is competing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great component to what we want our program to look like on a day-to-day basis. We want to have a group of guys who relish in the opportunity to compete against some of the best people possible. So we've seen that from day one. There's a little bit more chatter around the gym in those environments. But at the same time, it's healthy. It's healthy competition. We tell them when we recruit them, we're going to put them in competitive environments, that this isn't going to be easy. But if you buy in and believe in what we're doing, it'll certainly be worth it. So I think that competitiveness will spill over into the practice season and have us head in the right direction.
Caleb and Keelan talked a lot about you stepping out of their comfort zone. What did you do to challenge them so much?
I mean, probably no different than I've done with most all the players. Just try to identify some of their weaknesses and then try to expose those and make them aware of the areas that they need to improve in. And I think it's part of the reason that they bought into what we're doing, because even though they've had success, they've had it pretty easily. They haven't been challenged from a competitive standpoint individually. Obviously, they've had some competitiveness in games from time to time, but that excitement about their potential long term is something that's our responsibility, to see how far we can push those guys to become the best version of their individual selves.
How far have they come?
A long ways. Caleb Boone, I think, was on the precipice of trying to walk back to Tulsa on day 3 of summer school because he was hurting in every possible way, physically, but also mentally. He was, again, being asked to do things on a consistent basis at a level that he had never been asked before. And that goes from everything, not just the weight room, but on-court conditioning, the individual workouts, learning a new system. Obviously, they've been really, really comfortable at Memorial doing things a certain way. and it's been successful for him. But we've asked him to take another step up and to compete against the likes of Cam and Lindy and Thomas and Yor and Ice, who've been around all for at least a year, but most of those guys multiple years.
Watson talked about the freshman group, before they even got to start working out, they had a group chat. How important is that for the chemistry of that dynamic for them to be doing those things before they even get campus?
I mean, I think it's vital that those guys have a real relationship with each other outside of the game. They're going to be teammates. There are going to be some tough times at some point during the year for each of them individually, for our team collectively. And that's the thing that'll keep them together, is that they know what each other are about at their core. We actually brought all 4 of the guys who signed last year in on their official visits at the same time last year. And I took them away from their parents, Avery, Boone Twins, and Marcus, and sat them in the room and told them, you guys are going to be a big part of the future of this program. And the commitment has to start now, not just when you show up on campus. And they took that to heart. They stayed in touch. They obviously supported each other throughout their high school seasons. And we're really excited to get here this summer.
What have you seen out of Watson's game, specifically on the court throughout the summer?
Yeah, he's got a great knack for scoring. It's one of the things he probably does most naturally. Really, really good athlete, physically. He's got some areas where he needs to grow, more so on the defensive side of basketball, but he's got a natural knack for knowing how to put the ball in the basket. I mean, I don't know how many guys were here this summer when we opened up the gym, but he probably scored 8 of 12 points for his team just because he has a feel for it, something he's always done at a pretty high level.
Some of your time here has been kind of inconsistent in terms of player turnover, people in and out of the program. How important is it to you, and how nice is it to have 3 senior leaders, 3 guys that have been captains before as anchors as you try to move this thing forward?
Yeah, the first year everything was a blur. 2 years ago, standing not in this room, there was question marks on how this thing was getting started. And last year we also had some off-court incidents. But going into this year with a bunch of positive energy and momentum around the program, with a bunch of guys who are hungry for some success, got all 5 starters from last year back. But again, the core of it is those 3 seniors who've been through a ton. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention how important Trey Reeves is to this equation also. His commitment level has been no different than those other 3 guys. And so their leadership is something I lean on every day. I meet with those guys and talk to them about what it's going to take for us to ultimately have them leave here with a really, really positive legacy on this program. And they're going to be a big part of why we're going to have success for the next several years, in my opinion.
Last time we spoke, I think Hitty had just gotten here. What have you seen from him in that time? You're kind of, I don't know, you didn't know exactly where you're going to get right off the bat with him, but have you got some more clarity there?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing you just don't know is until you coach a kid, you don't know how he responds to coaching. But he is extremely smart. He picks up things really, really quickly. He's a great teammate. He's a guy who came in here and totally bought into what we asked, even though it was completely foreign, and not just in the sense of being a foreign language or foreign country, but a lot of what we did physically. They don't necessarily lift weights and condition the same in Europe as we do here. So, but he adapted well. It took him a while. As much as I praise him for the way he could shoot the basketball, it was a couple of weeks before he could get the ball to the rim after spending some time with Jake in the weight room. But he's a tremendous competitor. I think he's going to be a good rebounder and a versatile defender for us, and somebody to ultimately be somebody that we count on to make shots as well.
Chris, he was originally signed with A&M, then a coaching change happened, he got released. Is it different recruiting a kid the second time, I guess?
No, I mean, the way I recruit, I had a relationship with Chris since he was a freshman in high school, before I even, knew he was good enough to play at this level, so to speak. And obviously recruited a high school teammate of his who's at Kentucky now. And I just have always supported those kids. DFW's been an important area for me in my career since I moved to Texas, I guess 7 years ago now. And just kind of stayed in touch with him and watched his career. And I think it was pretty natural once he decided he wanted to move on from A&M, that he thought this was something that made sense, an opportunity to play at still a really, really high level with some guys that he already has a relationship with, a place where his family can see him. He's got family from Oklahoma, so he's very familiar with our program. And he's actually got a cousin on the football team, the defensive end Scott kid. I can't remember his first name. So he had a lot of familiarity with our program, and it wasn't that difficult at all.
Do you see him playing on the ball, off the ball?
Primarily off the ball. Right now, he's a really, really good shooter. But again, in some ways, him and Hitty have been able to pick up things faster because they have high basketball IQs naturally. Chris's dad was a coach. His aunt played basketball at a really high level. And so they've been around the game since they were little kids and just have a different knack of understanding.
Coach, last year, Ice and Gilmore played with a lot of the freshmen. How have you seen their confidence grow from where they were this time last year to now?
Yeah, I mean, today was the end of our boot camp before we start practice, and Yor literally almost didn't make it through last year. And today he was one of the best guys out there. Just the experience, the opportunity. Probably was as hard on him as I was anybody on our team a year ago. And part of it because I saw what he maybe didn't see. Wasn't sure he could lead the Big 12 in blocks, which he ended up doing, but I knew he had a chance to have a real impact and be a guy we could count on to produce on a nightly basis. So his growth has been exponential. I think a year ago today, no one knew if he was surely good enough or whatever it was, and now people are talking about him being a guy who's going to be an impact player in the league. So Ice, I think his progression has been probably a little bit expedited. He started every game. He had to live and die with him in some ways. We obviously got short on guys and rode him quite a bit. And then his experience this summer with USA Basketball, I think, took it to another level.
His name's typically synonymous with football, but you guys are wearing boom patches on the uniforms this year. What did he mean to the basketball program?
Oh man, I can't even really put it into words. I never got to go out to his ranch, which everybody tells me is like the most phenomenal place on earth. But I did spend some time with him in Dallas, and a couple times that he came to visit Stillwater the last couple of years. He just had so much passion for this university and wanted us to be excellent at everything, and really stepped out there to give us a chance. So we're eternally indebted to him, and we look forward to representing him every time we go on the court with his names on our jersey, and by the way we play as well.
When talking to the younger guys and I asked them, what's the biggest adjustment through the summer, they said defensive adjustment. So why do you think that's what sticks out to them most coming in?
They've never been asked to play defense, most of them. And so not only are they being asked to do something that's kind of new, they play an aggressive style of defense as well. It's pretty demanding, and it requires a great amount of discipline and effort and energy. And if you don't do it the right way, you get exposed pretty quickly. And so I think just psychologically getting out of the mode that it's going to be all about me having the ball and scoring all the points and making all the plays. Being a great defender is about sacrifice and commitment to your team, and that's the kind of program that we're trying to build first and foremost.
Got Cameron on as a graduate assistant. Is that a cool deal for you having coached?
It's awesome. People talk about Eric and Cannon, and rightfully so. They're going to be great. Dallas is going to be as valuable to our program as those guys, just because he's played in this system. He was that guy in the gym with me and our staff before, and understand what it looks like to have success. I believe he was a 3-time state champion in high school. He was a 3-time conference champion in college. And so winning is something he's very comfortable and familiar with. And so understanding what goes into that at this level is even different from doing it in high school. And so he's just got to do what he does, have great relationships with the guys, have a pulse on what they need, and be a great resource for them when maybe they don't feel too good about it.
How did that work out? Did he reach out to you? Did you reach out to him?
I've stayed in touch with Dallas since we left Stephen F. a couple of years back, and I always thought, just being around him, that he had the ability to maybe transition into coaching one day. So we just, we talked a couple times over the spring, and I told him, hey, there may be an opportunity here. He didn't hesitate one bit. Matter of fact, he made his way down here from Miami in a car, and he's been here ever since. So we're excited to have him.
We talked about it back in August, but what have you seen in the past couple months from Jonathan Moore? How has he progressed?
Yeah, Jonathan's he's a guy. When you get a guy you've never coached who's older, it's even different from a freshman because he's got even more habits that you probably are going to have to get accustomed to rather than trying to change. But his habits are all really good. He's a really hard worker. He's a guy who cares about the team first. He's been through college basketball and hasn't had the success that he would like from a team standpoint. And I think he's eager to prove that he can be a part of a winning program and win a team. And so all of his conversations with his teammates are about the type of success that we want to see as a team, have an opportunity to play in postseason, which he hasn't done yet. And so that experience and that determination is something I think would be a great benefit to us.
How do you view his role? He was kind of a defensive specialist at Rutgers, and then he became more of a scorer at UMass. How do you view him?
I think it's one thing that will kind of evolve. We'll see. But I know he shot 47% from three, and that's not easy to do. So we'll definitely try to put him in position where he can, make some shots for us. But I do think his size and toughness will bring us some interior presence, both as a defender and a rebounder. But then again, I think just the experience, having gone through it, helping Caleb Boone and Hitty understand when you come back from Waco and you got a quick turnaround, you can't think about what happened last night. You got to turn the page and get ready for the next one because it's going to be just as challenging. Those are the type of things that there's no substitute for in terms of having guys in the locker room who've been there for it.
What have you seen Griff do in the offseason to become more versatile? We can see the strength. We saw some versatility last year. What are you going to see this year?
I think he was disappointed that he didn't shoot the ball as well last year. His numbers dipped from a percentage standpoint, and so I think he made a commitment to himself that he was going to spend more time being a reliable shot maker. He's added a little bit more versatility off the dribble, where he can get 1 or 2 bounces, and he's playing with more confidence inside because of the added strength and probably the experience, knowing that no one's going to push him around in there, even though he's undersized. So still, for his position, he's still pretty physically capable. But again, those guys, their biggest imprint on our team is just going to be the consistent messaging. They know how it can go bad. They can see it and they can feel it, and they're going to be really, really integral in making sure that we keep our team on the right path.
Coach, last year, those 5 starters got so many minutes. Now it's so many guys that can do different things. It's going to be hard to find minutes for some of those guys, new guys at times.
I don't know. I'm curious to find out myself. Those are decisions that'll be determined starting tomorrow as we go through practice. You'll see some guys who can pick up things quicker, maybe have earlier opportunities, and some guys who maybe learn a little slower. Their opportunities may come later as they get more comfortable with how we do things. But I do think it's a great thing to have that competitive atmosphere in practice every day. But also, it's something you got to talk with your team about. If you want to be successful as a team, everybody's got to sacrifice something. And I had conversations with those 5 guys at the end of last season, at the beginning of this year. You may not play 35 minutes again. You may never play 35 minutes in a game. But every time you're out there, you got to have the right type of effort and communication. And the young guys got to understand. Those guys aren't trying to just give away their minutes. If they're coming in to play, they're going to have to work and earn it. And I think that's what we've seen. Ice hasn't been able to practice a ton so far, but when he's got out there, he's made it known to Avery, like, I know you expect to play a lot. I was the point guard, I expect to be a point guard. So, just having that competitiveness and those 2 guys, just for example, will be great for each other on a day-to-day basis.
Coach, the first couple of years you dealt with a lot of off-the-court issues. I mean, is it quieter, smoother transition?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine that anybody starting their first 2 years as a head coach would have experienced all the non-basketball things that we've experienced. But I think it's all part of the story for us. That's the approach we've taken. It's stuff we have an opportunity to learn from, be better for, and then we can look back and hopefully think of it as just a small blip on the way to the type of success we want to have. And I always felt worse for the kids to have to go through some of that stuff than I did for myself. But I'm certainly glad that I had those type of kids to go through it with.